Real estate inventory levels rise in some area and are falling in others. What does that mean to you as a buyer or a seller, and which areas are which? Good morning. My name is Mike Renick. I'm the senior broker, the team lead with Team Renick Real Estate Services. We're part of that great Keller Williams and the Water family, servicing Sarasota, Bradenton, the islands, the entire west coast of Florida. Things are changing. We're not seeing the constant upward pressure on price, downward pressure on inventory levels, and so on. So the market is beginning to go into what the experts are calling a shift. That doesn't mean it's a recession. That doesn't mean that it's bad. You just need to be more prepared with more information than ever so that you can get the best deal. Even in this kind of market, if you're a seller with the right strategy, you will win. Conversely, with the right kind of information and the right strategy as a buyer, you will win. What is that strategy? What is that information? Let's take a look here. Let me hit a couple of buttons. And there we go. We're getting that live. Let me make sure we've got everything showing the way that it should. Looks like it does. So let's go to full screen here. There we go. So in order to put a winning strategy in place, there's 4 factors that you need. What's the area's sales? Are local prices rising and falling? And how much inventory is out there today? That's what we're going to talk about today. And how long is it taking to get your property sold? When you combine the 4 of those for your area, we start looking at a macro level, a county level, a city level. We bring it down to an association level or a homeowner subdivision. When you put all of that together, you've got the tools to win. 4 of the Mondays every month, we talk about these 4 factors. It's a vertical look at the market. We look at one silo at a time. Putting it all together for your area is the horizontal approach, and we offer that to any prospective client that would like that information. There's absolutely no obligation. We'll talk more about that at the end and how to win with this information. So let's look at Sarasota County. In Sarasota County, we see there's 5.1 months of inventory available. Now, that's not measured against number of homes and condos and things like that. It's measured against the properties available versus a sales rate. So that can change. If the sales rate goes up and the number of properties for sale stays constant, the months would fall, and conversely. So when we look at it, though, it's up 2% from last month. It's up 8.4% from last year. So inventory is rising in the month of October. Now, when we saw last year, October, that didn't happen. So we need to keep an eye on this. But you can win as a buyer. You can also win as a seller when you combine those 4 factors that we talked about a minute ago. But inventory levels are up compared to last month and last year for the county of Sarasota. When we jump into Manatee County, we see it remains flat at 4.1 months from last year, but it's down 12.7% from a year ago. When we look at that, what does that mean? Is it starting to tail off? Is that good for buyers or sellers? The answer is good for both, just depending on how you leverage that. But the amount of inventory based on sales is up over the last 2 months compared to what we saw over the summer months. Longboat Key, let's go down into our cities. 17.7 months. That's huge. Look at that. It was down at 5.6 in August. It's 17.7 months. What that means right now, with the current sales rate, if nothing else comes on the market, it's going to take a year and a half to clear out the current inventory. A year and a half. That's important information to understand. That's important information to base your plan on. Now, that number is up 40% from last month, but it's down 8% from last year. So when we look at that, is this just a 1-month aberration like we saw in October of 2017? Or is this an upward trend that we have to deal with? It could be problematic. We'll find out as the months go on. When we look at Holmes Beach and Bradenton Beach, 10.8 months, down from 14.2. That's 24% from last month, but it's up 57% from last year. So when we look at this thing, the inventory level is high. Last year, we saw it in the 6s, definitely below 10 most cases. Now we're staying up above it over the last 2 months. Again, an area we have to watch. but it's a factor we need to know. Siesta Key, what's happening there? 16.6 months. Wow, almost a year and a half. If we look back at last year, wow, that's more than double. So it's up 70%, 69.4 from last month. It's up 138% from last year. We definitely have to watch the island properties. We're seeing some trends that if we don't put the right plan in place, could very easily be disturbing. Venice, 4.2 months. Down 14% from last month, but it's up 10.7% from last year. We need to keep an eye on that. Sarasota City, we talked at the county level in the beginning. The city is almost flat at 5.1 months versus 5 months last month. Up 2% from last year, up 2% from last month. You see that level of inventory is staying relatively flat in the city of Sarasota. That's a different plane than when inventory levels are rising. Let's take a look at Bradenton, city of Bradenton, 3.7 months. 0% change from last month. It's down 18% from last year. When we look at all of this data, and this is based on the data available at the end of October, when we combine this data for each of the cities in the county level, it tells a story, and we have to compete with what's out there. Are things selling fast? Are they selling slow? What's happening to prices? You need an analysis that puts everything together and puts a plan in place that will help you win. Again, buyers can win, sellers can win. It's just understanding what's out there. That's why we bring you the Mike's Market Update every Monday morning so that you can see what's happening in the market. We can prepare an analysis. In fact, we're willing to do that. The folks that we've done that for have given us high marks for the type of work we put into it. Let us help you win. If you need anything, let me know. My personal cell is 941-400-8735. My email address is mike@teamrennick.com. Please send your questions, comments, anything that you'd like to see differently on these broadcasts. But most importantly, the question I have as I leave you today is how can we be of help? Take care, everyone. November is quickly wrapping down, and it won't be long. We'll be into December and then also 2019. Take care.